Hi, I'm Linda Jernigan, and I am an ex-homosexual.
Now, I'm telling you, I stood afar off from Jesus too because of my disease, because of my issue. When I was 3 weeks old, my mom died. And I had it was 8 of us. I had 7 other siblings. And my biological father gave me away to live with my maternal aunt, but he kept the other 7. So I'm growing up in a house with my aunt and her husband and their 5 children. And so all of them have the same last name. All of them look alike. But then there was me. So I grew up feeling different. I grew up feeling rejected because I heard that I had some sisters and brothers. So why I'm not with them? Why am I over here with another family? So now I'm growing up feeling rejected all along. And then when I turned 13 years old, shortly after I turned 13 years old, my aunt and my uncle who raised me, I called them mom and dad. So my dad at 13 years old, he molested me. And so when he molested me, my mom decided that she was going to go along with her husband because he said that he didn't want me back at the house anymore. So at 13 years old, now I'm shuffled again from the house that I've been in for 13 years, living with these people as my mom and dad. Now I have to make another adjustment. And now I'm moved in overnight with my uncle and his wife at 13. Now let me tell you something. When I was at my mom and them house, they were perfect. They were perfect parents. They provided for me. They took me to church. They took me to Sunday school, Bible class. I sang in the choir. I did plays. I did skits, but I still felt different. So this is not like they raised a wild child. They raised somebody in church. Matter of fact, my mom was Sunday school teacher of the year. I like to joke sometimes and say that she was like Sunday school teacher of the year for like 20 years in a row. Every year they gave her another sweatshirt. Hey, I ain't got no more teachers around here. And my dad, he was on the deacon board. So I went to church. I grew up in church. So I knew the word of the Lord. I knew that homosexuality was an abomination. I knew it was wicked. I heard all them lines about Adam and Eve and Adam and Steve. I heard all of that. So when I left and moved with my uncle, that nice little church girl who was on an honor roll, all of a sudden in less than a year, I was failing every class. I was drinking alcohol, smoking weed, because something had shifted in my mind. My mom died. One rejection. Dad gave me away, another rejection. Mom was molested, another rejection. Mom then put me out the house to live over here. I felt like I'm worthless. Nobody care nothing about me. I'm being bounced around like a volleyball. Who's fighting for me? Who cares for me? So all of that anger and all of that rage began to manifest with alcohol and drugs. So my uncle and them decided they were like, she just a little too bad. You ever seen anybody, they just too bad? Some of y'all used to be too bad. And some of y'all right now raising kids, that's too bad. I know it because I see them and I look at your kids and say, now that joker, that's just too bad. That was too bad right there. So I was one of those too bad kids. That's too bad. And so they decided to get me a mentor. They decided that they need to get me somebody to work with me to help get me on track. And so this lady in our church, she began to mentor me. And, a couple of times we talked about homework and all of that. But then the conversation began to shift. She began to tell me little things about her sexual escapades. So I'm a young teenager. I was shocked. I was intrigued. We began to talk about different forms of sex. And so now they thinking that we're doing homework and learning some stuff. We wasn't doing nothing like that. We was drinking, smoking, and before long, she began to ask me about my sexuality. She began to ask me questions like, what if a woman came on to you? What would you do? Would you tell anybody? What if a woman wanted to kiss you? What would you do? It was with her that I first admitted that I believe that I have feelings for women and I feel different. See, because I was what they considered a tomboy. But I was so far beyond the average tomboy, because all tomboys not gay. So don't be going home looking at all the tomboys saying, you gay. No, they're not. And so this woman in my church, she became actually the first woman that I had my first lesbian experience with. So it was this woman who, in my church, who I had a lesbian relationship with. Now, our relationship didn't last that long because I soon discovered that she was having relations with other girls in the church. And so we broke up, but now that appetite is open. I done experienced something, man, and it felt good. I was like, oh my goodness, this is really how I was created, because I always felt different. I never felt like I was a girl. So this is how God created me to be. Then I met another woman. And this particular woman, I spent nearly 15 years of my life with. We raised 2 boys, had a nice little house in the suburbs. Man, we was living good. I was working for the government. She had a good job. We was living what we thought was the good life. I felt like our family life was better than some of y'all heterosexuals' lives. And so I was with this woman, and life looked like it was going well, except I had one issue. And the one problem that I had was alcohol. Because I came from a whole family of alcoholics. Y'all got quiet right there. Y'all came from the same thing too. My granddaddy drank, my daddy drank, my cousins, uncles, aunties, that's what we did. We got paid, we lived for the weekend. Some of y'all quiet because y'all living for the weekend right now. We lived for the weekend. We got our check and partied all weekend long. And so she got tired of this. The children were getting older. She wanted something better. And so she started saying, look, you're going to have to go to rehab. I had been to rehab 2-3 times in good faith. Never really intended to quit drinking. Just went to shut up. Working my program day by day, step by step, taking it one day at a time. You know, God grant me the serenity to do those things. Y'all do it. So she decided that she couldn't take it anymore. So one of her friends had invited her to church. And when her friend invited her to church, she had been going for about a month. So she was asking me to come to church with her. I was like, oh no. I did that. I was raised in church. I know what church is. They do the same things that I do, except they get up and go to church on Sunday mornings. So one thing about me was I called it where I wanted to keep it real. I wasn't going to be up in church being no hypocrite. So I was like, no, I'm staying away from the church. And so one night I went out. Saturday night I told her, I got off work. I'm going out, have a couple of beers. I don't know why I thought I was going to be able to have a couple of beers. I had never had a couple of beers my whole life. That's that same lie everybody be telling. I only had a couple of beers. Well, why you can't walk though? Why you can't stand up? So I went down, and before long, I'm partying, I'm having a good time, and the next thing I know, I'm on my way home, and I start hearing the birds chirping. That's not a good feeling, to hear the birds chirping when you were supposed to be home at a certain hour. And I knew I was in trouble. And I walked in, and she was standing in the kitchen, and I came up with what I thought was some very good excuses. I was on my way home. Junebug them had a flash. I had to go over there. While I was over there helping them, we got jumped on. Then the police came, and then, they locked us up. So I didn't want to call you because I know it wasn't that much money to get. So I just waited on the I-bun, and then I was on my way home, and then they stopped me. She just looking at me like. was different that day. I said, she gonna leave me. She had been threatening to do it for so many years, but for some reason that day, I was convinced that she was going to leave me. So I'm smart. You know, I'm a drunk, so drunk people smart, we think. For all that Crown Royal and Miller Lite and cocaine and cigarettes that I done had all night long, I go and sit on the bed and something started telling me, she been asking you to go to church with her. So go to church with her. And so that's what I did. I went to church with her, right? I walk into this building. And when I walk into this building, something happened to me. They were worshiping and praising God in a way that I had never seen before in my entire life. So we walk up to the balcony and we have a seat. Verse number 13 of this same chapter says that these lepers, when they got into the presence of Jesus, that they lifted up their voice and they said, Jesus, Master, have mercy upon us. Did your Bible say that too? So I'm up here in this balcony, and don't get it twisted, you got me right. I was in this balcony full of Crown Royal, full of cocaine, full of weed, full of cigarettes, and all of a sudden the presence of God came all over me. And I lifted up my hands and I began to worship. Now, I know I'm messing up some of y'all religious people who feel like that's not possible. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. That was 13 years ago, and I'm still lifting my hands and worshiping. I know you said ain't no way possible because you just said that your intentions was to save your relationship with that woman. That's exactly what I said. So you need to stop telling people, don't come to my church until you plan on getting it right. That is not of God, because I serve a God that can break through wrong motivations when he's ready to encounter your heart. He moved past what I thought I was coming for, but he told me while I had my hands lifted up, I said, Jesus, Master, why don't you save me too? So these lepers, these dirty, nasty, ostracized lepers whose society had kicked to the curb, they encountered Jesus. They had an encounter with Jesus. And so the same thing happened with me. But there was one thing about me. That day when I was standing there, I wasn't dressed as you see me dressed today because I was living my life as a man. All I wore was men clothes. All I wore was men jewelry. All I wore was men cologne. I looked like a man, had a full goatee. Never took an injection pill, didn't do nothing. It just grew from the devil. So that's how I lived my life. So I'm in this balcony with this encounter with God with a full beard. With all these men's clothes on. With men's shoes on. I'm in there lifting my hands and I'm worshiping God. When I walked through the door of the church, they did not greet me. And I said, you know what, I'm not even upset over that because I'm so glad they bypassed me because they probably would have said something stupid and I would have ended up leaving and walking back out the door. I'm glad that the Lord hid me from them and sat me down in that balcony, and then he began to minister to me. So I'm telling the Lord, looking like a man, talking like a man, living with a woman, drunk, high. I'm standing there telling the Lord, Lord, there is no way me and you could be on the same page. I had them moments with God where I would get drunk and cry and say, Lord, why me? Lord, help me. Jesus changed me. I had those moments just like everybody else, but nothing really substantial ever happened. And I felt like it never happened because of my condition, because of my spiritual leprosy. But this day in the balcony, I'm not dealing with people, I'm dealing with Jesus, y'all. I'm standing in the balcony and I say, Lord, me and you on two different pages, because I believe I was born a homosexual. I've always felt different. I ain't never felt like no girl. I always felt different. So I know, based on that, there's no way I could be a Christian. Because y'all told me every time y'all got a chance that I was an abomination. Y'all told me every time I got a chance that I was wicked and I was on my way to hell. That's what y'all told me, so that's what I knew. But that day in that balcony, Jesus said something entirely different. He said, Linda, it don't matter how you think you were born, you can be born again. Now, I know that may not mean much to you, but that meant everything to me. You trying to tell me that I can get rid of all of this pain. I can get rid of all of this torment. You're going to make me into a wonderful woman. You're going to soften my appearance down. You trying to tell me that I can be born again. Jesus said, not only that, Linda, that if any man be in Christ, I make him a brand new creature. All the old things will be passed away. He said, I'm not just trying to get the lesbianism. I make you new with the alcohol. I'll take the cigarettes out of your mouth. I'll do it all for you if you can trust me. Come on, we can shout right there. Come on, give the Lord some praise, because he's the God that transforms. He's the God that makes all things new. He is the God that can change your mind. He changes your desires. He changes your attractions. All you got to do is give him a chance. He saw desperation. I'm telling you, homosexuals, bisexuals, transgender, transsexuals, fornicators, adulterers, liars. I'm telling you, if you get desperate, God will see you. You can't come chasing after God and still trying to hold on to your dignity. He strips you of your dignity. He strips you of your pride. He takes it all away so you can be totally dependent upon him, so that when he brings you through, you'll be able to say just like Linda Jernigan, nobody did this but God, because nobody thought I could even do this. Nobody did this but God. Can't nobody get no credit. That's how come everybody's so skeptical, because they were talking about, Linda, I'm praying for you. Linda, I'm praying for you. I show up at the family barbecues. They looking all down on me because I smell like alcohol. I'm looking like a man and they with their religious self. We just praying for you. And then as soon as I said I got delivered, here they go. I don't believe she don't deliver. You trying to tell me you don't believe that your God answered your own prayer? Because wasn't it you who told me that you were praying for me? Wasn't it you that told me I need to get myself together? So now that I'm trying to get together, yes, I'm having a few stumbles. Yes, I'm slipping a little bit. But instead of you encouraging me, you want to knock me down further. But I'm so glad that I had a God that while I was laying down on that floor, knocked down by people, that he came and he lifted me up. He said, Linda, I'm the one who made you. I don't care who don't like it. I'm going to use you. I'm going to use you for my glory. That's how come I have no obligation to people. I don't have no obligation to nobody, because nobody but the Lord did this. A few months after I got saved, the Lord told me to shave my beard. Yep, I came to church for months after I got saved, still looking like a man. People still walking all past me because I don't look like what they think I should look like. They don't have no prophetic words for me. They have nothing for me because look at her, she has leprosy. And the Lord told me to shave my beard. After he told me to shave my beard some time after that, he told me, do something with your hair. Now, I have been wearing a jerry curl I don't know how long. I got my jerry curl cut out, so I'm just wearing a little fro. So the Lord tells me, shave your hair, comb your hair. I didn't know how to comb my hair. I had been living like a man. So I just started letting it grow. No perm, no nothing. It was just a matted rag up there. I still come to church, though. Love you, Jesus. Yes, Lord, I worship you. People laughing at me. I ain't care, because I'm chasing Jesus. One of my cousins felt so bad for me, she told me, she said, I'm gonna do your hair for you. She was a hairstylist. But I still was being renewed in my mind. So I told her, okay, you can do it, but I don't want to come up there with all the other women up there. Because I still felt different. The leprosy was still on me. So I didn't want to walk into the female beauty shop. And then they started looking funny at me. So they brought me in on a Saturday night, late at night, and put a perm in my hair, arched my eyebrows, put some makeup on me. And I was sitting there saying, I better not look like a clown when y'all get done. I'm tearing this whole shop up. I told the Lord, God, I'm making a plumb fool of myself because of you. Because I just believe in my heart that something has got to change with me, and I believe this might be the route to go. I don't know. He said, just keep going, Linda. Just keep going. So I changed my hair. Then I'm still going to church. Because I don't want homosexuals to believe that I went to church one Sunday and all of a sudden everything was different. It's a process. Even for me, it was a process. And the Lord tells me to move out your house. Yeah, I did just like y'all did. The devil is a lie. Got real spiritual then. He said, move out. So I told the young lady, you know, God said move out. She said, yes. Because we had tried all that extra stuff. You know what I mean? We tried to separate our bedrooms. Like, do that really work? Come on, shackers, do that really work? That don't work. I have offended possibly every people group here. How do I manage to do that all the time? It didn't work for us. Her room was right across the way. So I'm going to invite her in, or I'm going over there somehow. It didn't work. And the couple of times that we did slip and fall, it was horrendous for us because both of us were seeking Jesus. Not just me. Both of us were seeking Jesus. So when I said, the Lord said, I got to move out. Amen. I'm like, you're a little bit too happy. You wasn't praying this, was you? Like, what'd you do? You got a plan for this? So we started arguing over things like pictures. So we separating everything, 50-50. We want to be fair. You get your 50%, I'm going to get my 50%. Because we fair, we Christians. We going to do this thing God's way. You take your, and we started arguing over some kindergarten pictures, and the kids was in high school. Trying to say who paid for the pictures. I paid for those. I'm taking them with me. And in that moment, the Lord told me to leave everything. He said, leave it all. We had just moved into this townhouse. That's when big screen TVs was popular. I had just bought a 67-inch big screen TV, full surround sound, new washer and dryer, new bedroom set, dining room set, living room set. Just kicked my feet up to reward myself, and the Lord said, walk off. And I did. With tears in my eyes, I called my sister. She wired me $250 because he told me, don't even take none of the money out the bank. She got 2 children she needs to raise. You one person. You gonna make it. And I walked off. Went and bought an air mattress, a fitted sheet, and a blanket. And I moved in my cousin's basement. And the whole world was looking at me, calling me the biggest fool. Even the religious people who had been praying for me said I had lost my mind. And all I was doing was calling myself obeying God. I had to obey God, y'all, when it wasn't popular. I didn't understand it then. I had to obey God while the whole church was telling me I was missing it. I had to obey God. Verse 19, 17 through 19. This man saw that he was healed. All 10 of them walked off. But one of them came back. And this one told Jesus, thank you. Now all 10 of them got healed. But one came back and said, thank you. Many times people wonder, Linda, how can you go through the persecution? And I tell them because I'm thankful. I'm thankful that I'm not what I used to be.
For me, especially early on, the opposite of homosexuality, some would say, would be heterosexuality. You know, if you're not a homosexual, you're heterosexual. But for me, the opposite of homosexuality was holiness. That God called me to holiness. And then whatever he designed for my life, be it to be married to a man or to be single for the rest of my life like the Apostle Paul, that is totally up to what God's design is. But what do I identify as now? I identify as a Christian heterosexual who has been delivered by the power of God, but I was called to be holy, if nothing else.
If you've enjoyed this presentation of Linda Jernigan's testimony, you can see the entire uncut original program on DVD for only $20. You can order it by calling 888-548-1039 or through our website at www.rescuingministries.com, or send a check or money order to Linda Jernigan at P.O. Box 42, Park Forest, Illinois 60466. Enjoy Linda's full testimony of transformation.